Hi, and welcome to the 2 Minute Warning. I am your host, Perry Busby. Uh, this show is designed to provide you, the listener, with some clarity around our election, uh, to introduce you to some of the leading voices within the election integrity community. Before we begin, I do want to introduce my co-host, the publisher of the West Side Gazette, Mr. Bobby Herring. How you doing, Bobby?
I am terrific and getting better. And Mr. Busby, it's so good anytime I have an opportunity to represent the Black press over 193 years, and then the NNPA, which is 80 years old, and then the West Side Gazette, which is 50 years old. Anytime I'm able to be involved and represent that entity, it's always a pleasure. I'm just glad to be here, man. And I'm looking forward to this particular episode. And believe it or not, we do have a special guest. So I'm looking forward to that. Mm-hmm.
Oh, great, great. For those of you who did not get a chance to join us last night, first of all, we do want to offer our apologies for the miscommunication that went out. We learned that some of you were not able to join in last night, and we do offer our apologies. We corrected the problem. Let's count it as a rookie mistake, and we're only going to get better. Just as these episodes will get better. Last night we had a great time with Jennifer Cohn. Jennifer just opened up the world of voting and the underlying players, and so tonight we're going to build on that. Bobby, what I know I've kind of been used to this, but someone new to this, what were your thoughts?
Oh, wow. Speaking from what's about to happen tonight and trying to go back and regraph last night, man, I was totally blown away. Miss Jennifer Cohn, she is an exceptional, knowledgeable person when it comes to dealing with the whole aspect of voting. And thanks to you, Perry, I was able to grasp a lot of stuff beforehand because you enlightened me to some things that I had no idea about. So to answer your question, man, being a lay person in terms of voting, even though I've been voting all my life, I finally began to understand that voting is not just casting your ballot. There's a lot more to it than that. And because you have set the stage for us to gain further knowledge about this whole thing on voting, I'm extremely elated, especially this brother Benny. I can't wait for the people to hear him, man. It's something else, and I'm looking forward to it.
Right. And for those of you who are wondering what Bobby's talking about, we had a chance prior to the show. We were just doing some prep work, and we got into a discussion with our guest for the night that really could have been a show of its own. And unfortunately, I don't. If you're like me, you don't like to hear people tell you about things that you can't grasp. So let's move on. But just suffice it to say, it was a great time. And tomorrow night we will continue as well with Miss Emily Levy, who will be joining us again, who will carry this conversation forward because Emily will bring the aspect of how we build around community organization. And then Friday, Greg Pallas will be here. But tonight, as they say, this is Hump Day, and Hump Day will get you over any trouble. So our guest tonight is destined to get us over a hump. He's got some great material, and I'm looking forward to it. Bobby, in terms of our guests, I don't want to blow the cover on it, but is our guest ready, or are we going to continue and we'll come back to that later?
Yeah, well, let's see. We got something in the chat box. What's saying?
Yeah.
It's not here yet. Can we move forward with Mr. Smith?
Okay.
Okay. This our special guest is really indeed a special person, and so. But as I was just informed, he's not ready yet. So if we can proceed, and if Benny doesn't mind when he comes on, we can get right into it. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. In fact, that would make it better. So I know many of you who've been following election integrity. Our next guest is no stranger to you. When I started doing my research, I guess back in 2019, when I started writing the Technically Speaking column for the West Side Gazette, I came across an article in Bloomberg Business, and they were talking about voting machines, and they were talking about a problem or an incident that occurred in Shelby County, Tennessee, back in 2015. And the article intrigued me so much. And then when I found out that the guy involved was a guy by the name of Benny Smith, I immediately wanted to begin to reach out to him. And when I met this brother, it was just like kindred spirits. We got along and we've been talking, and he has enlightened me on so much of this industry. He's a tech head just like me. So, but he is from the community. And Benny Smith is a software developer. He's a consultant. But currently, right now, he serves as an election commissioner in Shelby County, Tennessee. And Shelby County, Tennessee is could be considered a twin sister to Broward in terms of elections and in terms of problems that they have with elections, which is why I was so glad to meet this brother, considering what I was facing here in Broward, and he has been a mentor. And so without further delay, I want to introduce to you Benny Smith.
Thank you, guys. I'm delighted to be here. I'm delighted you guys invited me. I'm amongst family.
Yeah.
So we can have a little fun tonight. So
we'll
chop it up.
You clean up well.
As I was telling Bobby, we're going to dub this show the Soul to the Polls night.
Yeah.
So
do it.
y'all just buckle up, and we're going to have a good time.
Yeah.
Okay. Benny, I've been telling everyone about this election back in 2015, and one in which you played a pivotal role. Rather than let me tell it, why don't you give us an overview of what happened?
Okay, so I've been involved in elections very early on. My background is in computer programming and analytics. So I had become the numbers guy here. So candidates typically, if they're serious about winning, I'm the guy that they come to see. So I would run the numbers and tell the candidates who are running where they should knock on doors, if they should skip a door, kind of surgical to make sure that candidates had the best chance of winning. And around 2010, the way the votes were counted before Obama won in 2008, we were a Democrat-led county. We were a Democrat legislature, Democrat election commission. So the party in charge of conducting elections were Democrats. And that changed when Obama got elected. So it went from a majority House, 100 years after Reconstruction, majority Democrat House, switched to a supermajority Republican. And the party in charge of conducting elections switched from Democrat to Republican. So a large period in time, during, me being a citizen in the background and running numbers, there were a large number of candidates that sued every year citing that something was wrong with the electoral process. We had, numerous headlines of glitches, and some people said that the administrator who was conducting the elections had his thumb on the scale. And for I think we had 10 seats countywide, and those were dominated. All 10 seats were dominated by Republican leadership. Right, Memphis is 50% black. It's probably 60-40 Democrat to Republican. But for some reason, we were always under Republican rule in the countywide seats. So in 2014, a number of those candidates came to me insisting that their elections had been stolen. I just thought they lost. I was I was looking at the numbers, and my background is telling me, look, you got to knock on these doors. You can't just put flyers in the car and show up at the church. You got to actually talk to these people. But as a consolation prize, I'm a software guy, right? I write code. I've got a good 200,000 lines of code under my belt. So as a consolation prize, I said, I'll look at the software. I'll take a look at it. And I took a look at the software. I got it. I did it in collaboration with blackboxvoting.org. Bev Harris was able to get a lot of the software through summary judgment and discovery. So she gave me access to those court case files. Former Commissioner George Munger, he kind of gave me the lay of how the electoral process works. And I had a very good understanding already, my background being in finance and database and programming of the software. I just needed to understand how it related to the electoral process. So I conducted a study for about a year, and I didn't tell anybody. I was really, taking a look at it, everything. And in 2015, I kind of surfaced from the underworld to conduct a study. And I, shout out to BlackBerry. I took a picture with my BlackBerry phone of the precinct tabulation results at the precinct level. It's literally like a receipt at the cash register. And that poll tape had 548 votes on it. And when it hit the central tabulator and the results were produced, that same precinct only recorded 330 votes. Right. So that was naturally something's wrong. Right. That's naturally something's wrong. However, what I was studying, it wasn't what I found. Nonetheless, it was the same troubling because, not only discovering what I found, which we'll talk about tonight and demonstrate, but I also found that computers just can't be trusted to do the basic function that we entrust them to do. And I already know this in my profession, but that's not widely known in an election, the election spectrum. So nonetheless, the short story is 2015, I take the picture of the poll tape. The administrator at the time, he retires the same, maybe a month later. It was a pretty reasonable outcry, but the large part is many people in Shelby County probably still don't know that Bloomberg, Jordan Robertson, and there was two other journalists. There was a Pulitzer Prize journalist. They came down here and they shined a really white hot light on Shelby County, and I think that brought a lot of sunlight to the process as it relates to how votes are tabulated here. But in 2018, that was our next major municipal or countywide election, and we went from 10 dominated Republican seats to 10 dominated Democrat seats, and nobody could explain how the fortune could turn so much, and the only person that had changed was the person who was in charge of conducting the election. So it kind of took off from there, but I also made some other discoveries that was inside of the systems, and I found out that there's a lot of bad stuff in there. To say the least, there's a lot of bad stuff in there. And I've kind of been forced out to the forefront to kind of discuss what some of those things are, and we'll go through it tonight.
Okay. Yeah, and there's a lot, but before we get to that, Bobby, I want you to introduce our guest because this show tonight, I can't get past its significance. In this current administration, you see three black guys on a computer screen, you think something's up.
Oh yeah.
And the fact that we're talking about election just means that the struggle that we are all heirs to continues to go through us. And so, Bobby, I want you to introduce this because Bobby does a show during the week for the West Side Gazette, and he has a moment called Sankofa. And so this is really a Sankofa moment for us.
It is, Perry, and thank you so very much. And Benny, thank you for allowing us to do this. Folk don't know that Benny is from the hood, and so he understands this quite well, and I appreciate that. And our special guest, Benny, is as Perry alluded to, this is a Sankofa moment to go back and to get something, to fetch it, to bring it forward, and it's a part of our history. So I'm honored to introduce Dr. Benjamin Chavis. Dr. Chavis is not only the president of the NNPA and the CEO, but he has just been awarded the opportunity to do a program on the public broadcasting system, Chavis's Chronicles. So it's a pleasure for me to introduce my friend that I've known over the years, and I've come to love him, not only for who he is, but for what he does and what he has been through. So it's my honor to introduce Benny Smith to Dr. Benjamin Franklin Chavis Jr. Perry Busby, you met him. Ariel, you know him. And to our audience, wow, this is our hero, Dr. Benjamin Franklin Chavis Jr.
Thank you so much, very much. On behalf of the National Newspaper Publishers Association, the NNPA, Brother Reverend Bobby Henry, thank you so much, the distinguished publisher of the West Side Gazette, and Brother Perry Busby, always glad to be in your presence. And I was listening very intently to our brother, Benny Smith. I'm glad you're where you are, good brother, because you're not only observing what is going on, you're able to communicate not only what you have observed, what you have analyzed, but it's very timely. So I hope that this 2-minute warning will be taken seriously by Black Americans, not only in Florida, but Black people across America and really throughout the world. This is a time where we must not only make sure that our votes are counted, but first of all, you got to vote in order for it to be counted. Secondly, we got to make sure that our votes are counted. They're not stolen, they're not suppressed, they're not denied. This is a critical moment in our history. But God blesses us. Even when things seem bleak, even when things seem to be almost impossible, God has always made a way out of no way. And we are that people that not only navigates through the thicket and come out winners and strivers for excellence on the other side, but it's very important that we open these doors and let other young people come in. I've been involved in the struggle for freedom, justice, and equality for a long time. And as I reflect back in this Sankofa moment, I just want to say that God is blessing us, Brother Bobby and Brother Perry, with brothers like Brother Benny. He represents the tip of the spear, that can pierce the truth, can shed that light on what needs to be shed so that our people will be motivated, will be inspired. And I know we are amidst a deadly, unprecedented pandemic. We also amidst a deadly, unprecedented epidemic of systemic racism. And what brother is describing is part and parcel of how systematized the oppression of Black people is. It's not by accident. It's not by happenstance. When you see all this police brutality going on, when you see all this voter suppression going on, when you see all of the trickery at high places from the White House on down, it's all meant to try to break our spirit. Bobby, you've heard me say this before. At the end of the day, I don't care what we face or what we endure, what we have to go through. We can't let anything ever break our spirit. We got to stay strong.
Mhm.
So I just came on tonight to give a shout out. I heard there was a 2-minute warning going on. You know, and I said, "Oh Lord, let me get myself together," because whenever you hear the 2-minute warning, you know something's about to go down.
Mhm.
Right.
You know, the game is almost over, but
Yes, sir.
2 minutes can win that game.
Yes,
That's
sir.
right.
Yes, sir.
All is not lost.
No, it's not
You know,
lost.
so I appreciate the warning from the West Side Gazette. Sister Ariel, I don't see her on the screen, but so glad she's there, and all the whole staff. You got a wonderful staff at the West Side Gazette. You know, I'm inspired, and so as I get ready to, I'm not leaving the NMPA. I'm just expanding our horizon with the public broadcasting show that will start in a few weeks. We're going to be in over 100,000, over 100 million homes.
Mhm.
You know, it's more than one person in a home. So we're going to be able to reach a couple 100 million people on this PBS network television program. We'll make sure we on a lot of the Florida stations, as well as stations across the country, all the major markets. But I didn't come tonight to promote my program. I came tonight to embrace and to salute this 2-minute warning. I don't know who came up with this idea, but it's a great idea.
Mr.
It's
Bud.
right on. It's right on time. You know. I may have to stay in the Chavis Chronicles. We got a 2-minute warning coming.
Yes, sir.
But we have to learn from one another. I'm
Yes, sir.
not going to steal. I'll make sure I won't plagiarize. I'll make sure
Right.
I say this comes from the West Side Gazette.
Yes, sir.
All right, but God bless you. You know, and I just want to just say a word to encourage Brother Bennett, Brother Bennett Smith. Look, man, God put you where you are for a reason. Your eyes, your ears, your mouth, your nose, your face, your heart, your spirit. God has blessed you to be in this place. And so what you say and what you do now with the blessings that God has given you, especially, you can open some doors, open some minds, and encourage some brothers and sisters to do what's right. You know, we are socialized, Brother Bobby, to do what's wrong. We are socialized to treat each other wrong. We are conditioned not to help one another. You know, we are socialized to be postmodern slaves. You know, but we can break out of it. The worst chain is not the physical chain; it's the mental chain. It's the invisible chain.
Yeah.
You know, we see the noose, but what about that invisible noose that's taking our breath away every day? So I'm not going to preach a sermon. I know this is the 2-minute warning. I don't want to take up all the time, but I just want to let you know I heard the call, and I'm responding to the call tonight on this program.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Dr.
And Dr. Chavis, if you did go in, Ben is an organist, so we go right.
Man, that's like trying to find a key.
All right. Beautiful.
So, and for our guests, you know, we just having fun, and we ask you to join in because this is us. Again, this is one of the most special shows that we could have put on, and to have Dr. Chavis be a part of it really makes it special. So I know people are saying, well, okay, what about this with Benny? All right, Benny.
Yes, sir.
You know, you've talked about what you did in 2015, but Benny has really unlocked some of the secret codes behind voting. And I know some of you may think, well, no, I didn't know voting had secret codes.
Oh, yeah.
It does. And so not to get too technical, but Benny is about to do a demonstration, one that I think is very provocative. It has a lot of historical meaning and just good practical meaning in terms of what we see and hear today. We're in a 21st century. And as I said last night, we are applying 20th century voting practices to a 21st century environment. and it does not work. I mean, our concept of understanding voting in this new age has to come up to speed. And so what Benny is going to do is going to shock some of you, but I think it's going to shock you into action. And so Benny, let's get started with Benny has a application that has been coined fraction magic. And once you see it, it will be magical, but it will be an enlightening. So without further ado, let's go, Benny.
All right. So what I'm going to demonstrate for you guys is a proof of concept that I developed. I would just underscore this is not a hack that I'm about to show you guys. This is a feature. It's not a bug, and it is literally my extensive knowledge in programming, plus finance, plus databases, plus elections. When you put all of those together and the convergence happens for someone in my experience, in my field of practice, you see a recipe and an infrastructure that really yields computational force and power to automation. And in finance, it's a basic top-down allocation. It's really what it's called. But there is a video that I'm gonna play for you guys. And shout out to Jordan Robertson. Like, this guy really, it's a dense subject, and he really took to heart. He didn't write about it in the cover story, but he wanted to double back. And there's like a 20-minute video from Bloomberg, a cybersecurity segment. But this is just 2 minutes that is really just going to lay out the framework. He's going to give a layman's expression of what I'm about to show you. And you just got to remember, is what I'm going to show you is something that it's designed to do it that way. And I'll describe the parts that are me versus what's already there. But I'm going to queue up this video. I'm going to share my screen now. And then Perry, you can tell me if you can see my screen, and you can just yell at me if the audio isn't working. But I'm gonna put this thing up, and you tell me if it's ready. All right. Am I there?
Not yet. Here we go.
All right. So I'll cue it up, and you tell me if you don't hear any audio.
Interesting thing about the GEMS tabulator is not just that it's used in many of the elections that many watching may participate in, but it has a bug, or a feature, as its creators would call it. And now this bug was discovered by a computer programmer in Memphis named Benny Smith, who we profiled as part of our Business Week piece. Now, Benny has found some really interesting oddities about Memphis's vote counting and vote tabulation, some very serious problems that were undiscovered until he looked into them. One of the things that he found, which we didn't write about, but which we think is really relevant here, is that GEMS has this feature where, in very rare cases, in very rare instances where counties or municipalities are voting on land use taxes, certain votes can be weighted differently. So if I own 1 acre and you own 2 acres, in these very specific cases, your vote will count for twice as much as mine when we're voting on things like property taxes. Again, very rare niche cases. However, the system allows election administrators to adjust and basically weight races according to those guidelines. It makes a lot of sense in those limited uses. However, what Benny discovered was that this feature appears to be turned on by default across this universe of GEMS databases. So what does that mean? Well, that means you can literally weight races based on who you want to win. You can plug in a percentage into these computers before the race and say, I want Jordan Robertson to get 75% of the vote. And the trick is, going into these races, you don't know if you're going to hack an election, how many total voters will come out. It's very hard to rig the race if you don't know how many voters will come out. But if you can assign percentages to a given candidate, it doesn't matter how many voters come out. You can say Jordan Robertson gets 75% of the vote. Whatever the total number that comes in is tabulated at, the numbers can be adjusted accordingly. I mean, it's impossible to overstate how significant this is. This is, again, a feature, but winds up being a security vulnerability. And I want to give you an example of what that looks like. I should preface this all by saying this is a proof of concept that this computer programmer has come up with. This is just demonstrating that computers can't always be trusted. They can be tampered with easily. And in this case, this isn't even a hack. This is a this is a modification that the creators of the GEM system have enabled on purpose.
Sorry, I think I'm muted. Am I muted?
We can hear you.
Yes.
Am I good now?
Yes.
Okay, so that was about 2.5 minutes of a good 20-minute clip that aired right before the 2016 election. Again, when I was talking about this, it was extremely taboo to talk about an election or tampering, and it was not on the radar that elections could be compromised. However, this land use or the basic removal of one person, one vote is what it is, because you can summon historical context and say that if you want to represent 3/5 in arithmetic, that's 0.6. So if you want a person to be worth 3/5 of a vote, you would just give them the weight value of 0.6. So I'm going to conduct for you guys a weighted election, and I'm going to get everything up, and we're going to do a little volley. Me and Perry, we just talk it through while I'm getting everything set up.
Yeah.
Perry, you can kind of describe what some of this stuff is, and if I need to zoom in, you can just tell me shut up or whatever I got to do. All right, so I'm going to minimize my screen, and I'm going to get a little real estate going here. I'm going to open up the GEMS software. This, again, is the election software that Shelby County presently uses. We just had an August election, and we will vote on this same software in our presidential election. So on election night, the returns come into a central tabulation election management system. And
kind of zoom it up, Benny, kind of zoom it up. And while you're doing that, how many GEMS is a pretty popular system. About how many counties? I mean, just approximately.
At the time that I looked at it, it was about 25% of all elections were conducted in it. I know Georgia just switched. A number of counties in Florida used it. I think a good 60 of maybe 200 precincts may use it in Massachusetts. So it's still a prominent fixture. I think the entire state of Georgia used it. The entire state of Mississippi used it. So it's in wide use in southern states.
I wonder why.
Especially with that 3/5, especially with that 3/5 bill.
If you want to go down and draw that distinction, it's definitely in a wide enough use. In those areas. Yeah. So I'm gonna just get some things going. This is technically what we see on election night in my county, and I'm just gonna get everything running. This is this web address that I'm opening. This is just a poll, a refresher that you would see like on the news stations when their totals are rolling in. So the only thing I would caution everybody is this isn't a live election. This is real software, and this is real data from a completed election that was given over in a court case. So this is real data. And for tonight, we're going to tinker with the governor's race. And the reason why we're going to do that one is because it's on the first page, and we don't have to scroll through any pages to see what is happening. So I'm going to just give the lay, and Perry, you tell me if I'm in it. So right now, if you look at the governor's race, we see that Bill Haslam right now is the winner. He won't be for long, but right now he's got 38,212 votes. Zach Wamp is in second place. Ron Ramsey is in third. Who is Joe Kirkpatrick? He has nothing. And Basil has been seasoned with 219 votes. So he's largely a loser of the night. And this is the same representation, just the printout reports that in Shelby County, those are passed out. So I'm going to let Perry pick somebody. We're gonna get some dirty people up in here tonight. Somebody gonna be dirty, and they're gonna pick the governor. A little money may exchange hands, but there will be a new governor. This guy Bill Haslam. He's not gonna be a winner. Somebody else is gonna pick him. So Perry, you wanna anoint somebody to be God without permission?
We can do Bobby, or we can bring Dr. Chavis back on.
Well, I don't know if Doc left or not, but
okay, we'll go with Bobby.
Is he here?
Benny, blow it up a little bit. I got old eyes. There, Doc.
Yeah, Dr. Chavis is here.
Yeah, Doc is here.
Doc, you want to do it?
You pick a winner. Unmute.
We can't hear him.
Doc, you got to unmute. There you go.
I was saying we should pick somebody from Florida to win. I'll report the winner.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, we're locked onto the candidates that are on the screen.
Yeah, one of the candidates. Why don't you pick Why don't you pick the guy that was at the end, Basil?
Basil. Okay.
Yeah.
Man, that's an ultimate comeback there, man. That's the little engine that could. You think we can pull that off?
Wait a minute.
If you got the right mathematics, you can do anything.
Hey, I like your line of thinking, man. You good and dirty. All right, so let's see what we can do with Basil. All right, Mr. Bobby, you want to pick the percentage that Basil is going to win by?
Well, he's a long shot. He's a long dog. Now let's go with give me 30%.
Is 30% going to be enough? It's about 5.
Well, he's down
5 candidates. The winner is winning with about 49%. He might not have enough to pull it off with 30.
Right. Give me 68%. Let's go with 68. I like that.
68%. All right. So 68% is what we. Oh man, that's gonna be a landslide. Okay. All right. So we're gonna turn him from loser to landslide, basically. So all right, I'm gonna open the Fraction Magic program. This is the program that I created based on technical specifications.
Hold up, Benny. Hold up now. This is a program that you created.
Right. That simulates what happens when inside the voting machine.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm gonna use my technical. I read some tech specs from the Diebold documents that Bev Harris released when she found all the Diebold source code files. And there was a technical specification document that told the programmers how to build a weighted election inside of the system. So I built one, and you'll see black boxes everywhere. But I'm going to open that program so we can give that 68% to this candidate. And right now it's running, but you cannot see it. I'm going to zoom all the way in, and you guys who are watching, just watch the top corner. Because it is running, it's hiding in plain sight. Can anybody see what this word says? There's 2 words on there. Can anybody see that?
Something code, huh?
It says magic code.
Magic code.
All right. So this is my application, and I'm going to zoom back out because you cannot see it, but I promise you it's running. It's there. So I'm going to hover my mouse over you. Watch my mouse. It's going to change. Does everybody see it changing?
Mm-hmm.
All right. So I'm going to type a code in that's going to bring up some black boxes. Now, these black boxes is I'm the piano player playing an accompaniment to this application, and these black boxes are going to be what I created to make this magic trick pull off. So I'm going to type a special code, a special cheat code, and now this black box pops up. And basically, I want to take the governor's race, and I want to pick these allocation rules that I was just we were just talking about. So we're going to pick a function. And you said 68%. So I'm
68%.
All right. I'm gonna put a little bit of variation. I ain't gonna cheat, but I'm gonna give 68 even is a blunt object. So we really want to make sure that that we put a little bit of variation in there. So I'm gonna create some allocation rules, and this is technically what would be happening when the voter rolls get leaked, and you got a planning phase of trying to figure out how you can impact an election. And this is where you would do that. So I'm going to pick a number, and it's just a random number between 68 and 68, right? And that's just going to give me some decimal variation. You see, it's just 68.05. Mm-hmm. I'm not hacking.
Zoom it up a little bit, Benny.
All right.
Okay.
So you guys see that? And I'm just picking a random number between 68 and I'm doing it 3 times, and the reason why is because he's going to get 68% of this precinct for early voting, 68% of the absentee ballot, and he's also going to get 68% of the polls, right? And right now, I think that's supposed to go to Basil, right? So, yeah. And the runner-up is going to get the remainder of that. So he's going to get the runner-up is going to get 46% of all the votes that are remaining. So I'm going to copy these allocation rules. Again, this is pure finance. It doesn't belong in elections. Nonetheless, I'm in a very comfortable space right now because I know what this stuff can do, and I'm about to do it. So the winner is going to be Basil, correct?
That's correct.
So Basil is our winner. And who do y'all want to come in second place? Well, Ron Ramsey can come in second place. Let's make Joe Kirkpatrick. He was a loser too, right? Let's push everybody to the bottom, and we probably get caught trying to make two people win like this. But I mean, we are talking about stealing elections, so it's okay. What's a stolen election among brothers, right? So Joe Kirkpatrick is going to come in second place, and Basil is going to come in first place. So everybody right now, you can still see that Bill Haslam is currently the winner. I've preloaded the allocation rules, and now I'm going to mimic the election return. So I'm going to open Fraction Magic one more time. It is still up here. You guys watch my mouse change, and I'm going to type in the cheat code that obliterates this election and picks a new winner. So,
okay, let's zoom it up.
All right, yeah. So I'll show you typing that. I got this magic code that I'm going to erase it, and then I'll type it again so you can see when I actually hit it. So I type my magic code in there. But I'm at backspace, I'm gonna type it again. All right, I'm gonna hit enter. 1 1,000, 2 1,000, 3 1,000, 4 1,000, 5 1,000, 6 1,000. 6 seconds. Wow. 6 seconds. I would just like for everybody who's watching live to know, I ain't no thief. Don't do it with me. This is an ethical swap. So this is just for demonstration purposes, even though I'm doing it on a real system. I'm doing it in a controlled environment. But if this was in a real environment, it would actually do it. So I'm gonna close this report because you see that Bill Haslam is the winner right now. I'm not gonna close the application. I'm just gonna re-preview the results because that's typically what happens. Like returns come in, and then you get a refresh report, and then you put it out and you put it out again. So now I'm gonna re-preview the results, and I'm gonna zoom in because we now have a new winner, and our new winner is Basil. And look at the percentage that he got. He got exactly 68.5%, just like the man said he was supposed to get. Now, let's see how many votes he got. Well, let's see how much money he has. He has $53,052.59.
59 cents.
Let that land. Let that land. We are no longer talking. Look at it. If you got to look at everybody's totals, right? Basil did win. He got 68%. Joe Kirkpatrick came in second place, exactly like we said he would. But it looks like we're talking about money now. That is the problem with this system. And just mind you, at first those totals were not there to show you the decimal places. So this computer fully expected decimal places, and I turned it on to show you that it expected, and I can tell you how I can tell it when to show me and when not to show me. All right. So that 0.59 is probably cutting me right at my chest. And if you cut 40% of your body off, that is not a good sight. That would be death to somebody. So we gave him 60%. And notice while I was there in the same 6 seconds, it was 8 seconds in our demo. I also took some other races. Right. So people will say, well, that's just one race. No, it was the whole first page in the same 6 seconds. So I made some other losers. Everywhere where there were two people running, I took more votes. And we're not going to dwell on the other races because this is just a demonstration. But there's another report. There are two more reports. And one report is the one that was scrolling in. Now look at it. That report has already refreshed. I didn't even do nothing to that one, right? That report is already refreshed.
Now let's zoom in.
Look at this one. He's got 68.5, but now that 53,053, it's not 53,052.59. They rounded up.
Oh.
So the system knew what to do with it. It knew what to do with it. That is a problem. That is a problem because I have literally just completely obliterated the notion of one person, one vote by conducting what is called a weighted election, where I basically said, I don't care who walks into the booth. My man Basil is getting 68.5% of everything that walk in the door. All right, so there's one more report, and then we'll go in right into questions. I know everybody's gonna have a million questions after this, and I'm gonna open up because some people may say, "Well, you just changed 2 numbers." No, I didn't. I changed everything everywhere. There is a report called the Statement of Votes Cast, and it's about 2,400 pages of precinct level reports where I restated some bank account balances. Let's just say it that way. If we look at the governor's race and you look at the precinct level totals, look at the totals. This precinct is called Precinct 0100. Bill Haslam got $3.56 here. Absentee, he got 0.06. So 0.06 is just 1/6 of a 1/6 of a vote, right? That's 600ths of a vote, right? That rounds down to 0. So we can reduce people to nothing if we had to. The early vote totals, just look at it, just down at the bottom. I'll go to the last page. Well, we could do that in the question and answer. But if you guys see this, it looks like we're talking about money, right? We're not talking about Basil got 9.64 votes, right? He got 9.64 votes, and that is reasonably destructive. This does not belong in software that we use. And just raise your hand in the thing, and we ain't gonna have no hands. But if you ever participated in a weighted election, please tell me so I can go vote in one too. And that is literally the demonstration. Once you see it, you cannot unsee it. It's just completely destructive. And I'm gonna give my screen back, and I'm gonna let you guys tell me what y'all want to do next. It's all yours, Perry.
Okay. Wow.
Man, this is
scary. We've always said data is the new currency. And so while that may have sounded like a good statement to make, it is true that data is now the new currency, and this bears evidence of it. And so when we look at data, it is, I mean, Benny was the ideal person for this because data is money. And if it is money, then we have to apply financial principles to it. And I've always been a proponent of that, is that when it comes to these systems, we have to do some level of auditing about it. And this is just really proof of that. And so if you guys have questions, I do want the audience to ask some questions, because I know this is kind of new to you, and so you may have some doubt about it, but we want to hear those questions.
I think you're muted, Ari.
Yeah, you're
Good
muted.
evening, everyone. Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay, good evening. We actually have a question from David Wright. Can this program be hidden with no encryption trail?
Yep. So let me to Perry's point, and I'm gonna tie this in. So my background has been in finance, right? Just by way of experience, I developed a commission program that doles out annually $180 million in commission payments. I really can't remember a single line of code that I wrote to build that application. One of the companies I work for, I wrote a software program to allocate $2 billion in sales targets and budget targets as a top-down allocation rule from finance. And I think I was off by $2 after rounding. And if I would have been off $250,000, the finance guys would have said, "This is our guy. He is perfect." But the number of decimal places that I chose to use, if you think about when you go to a gas pump, it's actually 3 decimal places, even though the penny stops at the second one. Next time you go to the gas station, look, it's 3, and you need 3 in order for the pricing measures that happen in finance to be set. So one of the things that I saw, and that's the reason why you have audits. That's why we have Sarbanes-Oxley. That's the reason why we have, that's why Enron, right? All of these audits are heavy on financial institutions because of the gamesmanship that they can simply run around when you have the ability to move decimal places and digits. So this is why it was so disturbing to me when I saw it in the electoral system. And the reason why it can be hidden and escape from audits, because it's an external piece of program. So if the external code is not a part of the software, then there is no audit log. The only thing that you can catch is an audit log to figure out that it either came from an external source. You can't figure out what it was. You can just know that an outside IP address was there at the time of the electoral that the tabulation was happening. There's no need for encryption because it's an external exe. It's an external program, right? The fact that code used to be where you would just write code and then you would just try to write code to eat code. To delete pieces of it and delete the trail. But that's the old world. It don't work that way anymore. Right now, you just use a standalone program and you never know I was there. This thing is running on a USB, so there's no need for encryption. There's even no need to hide anything because it's running as an external component.
Yeah. As a matter of fact, you say that, Benny, and I don't know if anyone heard the news today, but it was just announced that the two counties here in Florida, what was it? Washington and Lee, I believe it was, county, were both targeted with malware. And so if you understand malware, yes, there was two counties that was infiltrated, but the malware took root after that. And so to hear, once you have the base established, then it's very easy now to propagate that same ideology through every county. I mean, because if you understand elections, these counties are constantly in contact. They're in contact with the state. They're in contact with Department of Motor Vehicles. Understand, your voter registration goes through many hands.
Okay. That's right.
Okay, we have another question, actually two-part, from Ellen Brodsky. She asked, which computer systems use this and where? And also, who is writing this external code?
So the documents that I did at the time, there was a map that was shown. It was a number of counties, but verifyvoting.org, they have a list of all counties and the software and hardware that's in use. So you can go to www.verifyvoting.org. What you want to look for is GEMS and Diebold. However, I would caution that there's a cautionary tale to that because the weighted election was in GEMS, but GEMS is the father of all election systems. So that feature has migrated into all of the other election systems. I know it's been confirmed in at least two of the three major vendors. So it is definitely there. And to the answer, who is writing the external code? Again, this is a feature. The developers developed this type of election to run this way. I just believe I didn't use like a Gidra or any type of reverse engineering program. I did it all legal. They're not gonna get me. So I did it all legal, and I just used the programmer specifications. I didn't add nothing to it. I didn't take anything away from it. I just said, based on all of the programmers' emails and manuals, what would I have to do to conduct such an election like the one that I did? So mine, I wrote the external code, and that's the proof of concept that I just demonstrated. But there is another copy. I think it's a more inferior copy, but there is another there's another copy that was designed with the actual application, and that's anybody's guess of who has access to that.
Thank you. It looks like Transparent Elections, NC, North Carolina, asked, not sure if people could see when you were running the code, but the candidates' totals dropped temporarily. I know we have all seen this when we're watching the live election results or they're coming in. Is this a telltale
sign?
Yeah.
Yes, that is a telltale sign. Shout out to Lynn Bernstein. I know Transparent Elections when I see it. She is a juggernaut in North Carolina. And the example that I give is because the election returns are not live, right? Their precincts are updating over and over again. We see 1% reporting, 20% reporting, 24% reporting. A program like this has to run consistently because the totals are continuously coming in. So you have to keep adjusting the totals down as they come in, and you have to do it over and over again. So if the timing is wrong and you're adjusting the totals down, but it's reporting out to the news outlet before or after that has happened, you can literally see the new adjusted totals for one screen or right on the screen as the adjustment is going and pushing out to the because remember I refreshed the results for the printout, but I didn't touch the one that had the pie charts. It just showed it again. So if I was running it and new totals came in and all of a sudden Benny let's say Basil, who's only getting 219 votes, right? He only gets like 4 more votes. But then somebody like a Bill Haslam gets another 14,000, and then I drop his total because Basil has to get the 68%. So that total will be high, and then the next time you see it, it'll be low. I would even want to say Wanda Halbert, who is the other half of the Bloomberg story that was written about me and her. That's what she saw on election night, and she went down to the election commission smoking and complaining about that very thing. So that is definitely, in my mind, a telltale sign of when an allocation program or something is not counting correctly. When we add, we should always be going to the left of the number line. We should be getting we should be getting further than 0, not closer to 0.
Mm-hmm.
We have one viewer who asks, could you spell the name of the program, or what is the name?
So this is the name of my proof of concept. You're going to be in a rabbit hole if you type it in Google, but it's Fraction Magic, Fraction for fractions, and magic as in the sleight of hand, because it's literally a magic show. Bev Harris named it Fraction Magic. I told her, she's one of the goats in my mind. She was the person that I worked with to do this. And she literally wanted to show that it was basically a sleight of hand where everybody is being fooled to watch what's under the cup while we're moving everything around. And the thing that enables us to do that is these decimal places. And the best way to say that is fractions because we're dealing with decimal places. So we call it Fraction Magic. Shout out to Bev Harris. She gave it that name.
Yeah. Yeah. And if you don't know Bev Harris, look her up. Bev has been one of the leaders in election integrity. I mean,
as a matter of fact, in May of 2016, before Bloomberg wrote about Shelby County, before they came, this entire story was written about in a 6-part series called Fraction Magic. If you go to www.blackboxvoting.org, blackboxvoting.org, that's the reason why Fraction Magic has all those black boxes as well. But if you search Fraction Magic, there's going to be a 30-minute video that comes up, and it's also going to be a 6-part series where you can see those programmer emails. You can see the study that I did, all the care and nuance that I went through. I didn't start off thinking that I was proving something. I was disproving something. I started in no column, no. I'm like Bobby said, I'm from the hood. I'm from one of the worst zip codes here. And I'm not the most credulous. I'm an incredulous person by default, and I'm a follow the money guy. So I really started in the no column, and I had to get myself to yes. I literally said, "What if I'm wrong?" at every step, and I just could not. I could not run across a single scenario that allowed me to say I can quit, and I kept going until I ended up in the middle of. And this is why Perry says it is definitely the infrastructure piece that can really unlock how the cheat codes could work, or definitely validate. I would just plug John Brakey because when he did this study, he was one of the people at Mimi Kennedy that did the study with me. He adopted this ballot image project, and basically, when I'm in behind the scenes tinkering with these votes, there are images of the ballots that are getting taken, and I can't break up a circle into 0.2. I can't break a circle up into 0.5, right? It's going to still say you voted for me, right? I can't do that. And because of that, he started suing for these ballot images because that was a fail safe to see if the computer even did something wrong or if somebody did something nefarious, that would be a stopgap to find some common ground and authenticate and audit the election. But as you guys know, in Florida, they don't like that.
Yeah, we couldn't even get to the database, so we're
yeah,
still having that
getting
fight.
to those ballot images is not a simple task.
Okay, let me ask you this, Benny.
Yeah.
I had the opportunity to go out and get those what do you call them, election tapes at the end of
Poll
the
tapes.
Okay, now, how does this fraction magic, does it play a part in that before? Or how does that work?
So there are two options. If the machine is running an allocation program, because it's let's face it, guys, these are computers, right? They're inferior to like an iPad 1, but they still computers, right? They have the computational structure. It's called a kernel, but they have a kernel inside of it that can run code. And if it's running at the machine level, then whatever's on that receipt, that's the Hursty hack, right? Hari Hursty of the Hacking Democracy video. Bev found, she basically made Harry Hursty, right? She went and got him, and she took him and gave him a concept to look at, and he shined like a beast. He literally ran not an allocation program, but he ran a vote swapping program that's probably germane to what I do. Though mine is more of a white collar hack, that would be more like a blue collar hack. Nonetheless, he did a phenomenal feat to go at the machine level. So if it happens at the machine level, then whatever is on that poll tape, God bless us.
Okay.
But the smartest route, it's harder to go to, like in Shelby County, we have 1,500 machines here, right? Well, I'm gonna go to 1,500 machines where they're gonna all come to me at the end of the night, right? So I would wait at the central tabulator, and then I'm gonna be the last thing you see before you go night-night. So if the machine is doing something and somebody's doing something at the tabulator, it's eBay then. So whoever submits last is the total that you would see. So the poll tapes are very important. That 16-minute video that Jordan Robinson did, he literally says everybody should go out and replicate Smith's experiment, go out and take those pictures of those poll tapes. ProtectOurVotes.com, Jenny Cohn was on last night. Like she is a godsend. I work really closely with Jenny, and she's working with ProtectOurVotes.com, and they have a photo finish project. I think what's the other one, Perry?
Democracy Counts.
Democracy Counts. Dan, don't kill me, Dan. Democracy Counts is doing the same thing. They got a similar thing. Lynn Bernstein, I'm showing her a little hack that I found tonight or tomorrow. And Lulu Freisdad of smartelections.us, she's doing something similar. So there are a lot of people who kind of see the lay of the land, and they're getting involved and going after these poll tapes because they do give something. Something has to be committed to the record on election night, and that's the problem that we have in elections. Nobody is committing anything to the record. We don't have an official or unofficial total. We just have one big blanket number, and we give them 4 weeks to give us the breakdown. They should give us the breakdown on election night, right then and there. No pause. Don't pause at commas. Don't stop at periods. Because the program that I wrote, it don't pause at commas and it don't stop at periods. So it's going to go through a whole county like a peanut butter sandwich, and you want to have some basis of I'm sorry, it's what it's going to do.
You sure there ain't government cheese sandwich?
Yeah, it's just going to spread it. It's going to spread it across. And without any type of committal to the record, I mean, it's any report I see, I don't believe it.
Yeah.
I know what I can do behind the curtain, right? So I'm really incredulous when I see something like that. So the other organization that's doing training about how to look for these things is the great Emily Levy. She's on tomorrow night. She's got, what's the name of her organization? I can't think of it. Scrutineers. It's basically saying I'm scrutinizing everything. So Scrutineers is another one of these organizations where I would say that everybody, let's get involved. You can join all these organizations because they are all going after it the right way.
Yeah,
I'm actually involved with all four of those, loosely with Democracy Counts. But I've had a number of conversations with Dan on his exercise.
No, and I'm also checking the Facebook live feed, and there's a lot of questions on there. People are you've scared Facebook Okay.
Let's go. We got to answer it. We need to be enlightened.
Yeah. But someone did say, well, and it's a valid question. Whenever you hear something like this, someone posed the question, then why should we vote? And so I believe we can all answer that.
Yeah, I'll answer it. Look, you cannot stop a landslide. You can't stop a movement, and you can't stop a unified public, right? And you can't stop the public who is trying to verify. These are public elections, right? John Brakey says it ad nauseum, and I'm gonna paraphrase him. He said, casting a ballot is a secret process, but counting it is a public process. If the public goes and votes, they should also get involved in counting it as well. If I had it my way, hand-marked paper ballots, I'm a tech guy, but I don't want computers counting it. I just don't. Paper, I can't put a virus in a sheet of paper. I'm gonna have to use some acid or some food coloring or something like that. And it's hard. I just hid 70,000 votes in about 6 seconds. You tell me to hide 70,000 sheets of paper.
Mm-hmm.
Can't do it. Can't do it. There's a chain of custody. There's so much other protocols that you can assemble around it, where you don't need somebody like me in the room. You can have the citizens literally policing the republic. So it's paramount that we actually participate in the process, because what's the likelihood of 100,000 Democrats participating in a Democrat county where you know there are only 40,000 Republicans, and then somebody somehow is going to make the argument that somehow 60,000 Democrats decided, like this was something Bev Harris said, right? And this is in 2014, and it's so apropos. It's not mine, but it's what she said, right? So in 2014, when I really got jingled, I got jingled in 2010 when Willie Harrington, who was a 5-term mayor, lost to Steve Cohen. Steve Cohen, I think, is a great congressman. I just could not believe that he beat a 5-term incumbent who's still beloved in the community today. But we had Judge Joe Brown to run for local prosecutor. Now, Judge Joe Brown got more name ID than money can buy, right? And we had about 100,000 Democrats to vote in that election. And Bev Harris said, now you want to tell me that in dense Democrat-dominated, well, there were white Democrats too, but black majority town, that those people decided that they would like to just continue being prosecuted by the Republican white woman. And that really landed for me, because I didn't think about it that way until you look at some of the problems that the black community goes through as it comes to policing, as it comes to sentencing, as it comes to the disproportion of sentencing, the crimes that are committed, and the sentences that are given out with that. And that all runs through the electoral process. So it really makes sense why, when I built the application, that was what I formulated my thought on, was, does anybody have an incentive to remain in power? And the answer is yes. And then there's a follow-up, and that follow-up is, what would you do to stay in power?
Mm-hmm.
And you're going to get answers like lie, cheat, steal, kill. Kill ain't off the table. There have been politicians that are up and died. Y'all pray for me. I ain't trying to die, but and I ain't suicidal either. But those are what you would see when there's a struggle for power. Wanda Halbert, she lost 2 elections in a row, and she won the 3rd one. And the 3rd election that she won, I think her budget that she's in charge of is somewhere like a $900 million in revenue. So let that sink in, right? She's got an enormous amount of authority and power. So, and it's just a nonpartisan issue too, right? So what if the Democrats want to challenge the establishment? Bernie tried to do that in Florida. Tim Canova tried to do that in Florida.
Yeah.
What if a Republican wants to challenge a Republican? Shiva Ayyadurai ran for Senate. He wanted to challenge a Republican. There's going to be times where this is such a nonpartisan, but the affected area, the affected audience just seems to be overwhelmingly Black America. And that's kind of where I took it to heart and really kind of honed in, because, like, again, the poll tape example that when I took the picture, it was 548 and it turned out to be 330. That's 60-40, y'all.
Mm-hmm.
That's 60-40. And I was like, man, it lost 40% of the value. Well, 0.6 is 3/5.
So we have not moved. We have not moved.
No, that hurt my soul. it wasn't the case, but that's literally it floored me that way to where I said, let me keep going and let me find out what's going on here.
Yeah. No, I mean we laughed about it. Ben and I, we always looked at that and said, we really need to be checking and make sure we aren't two-fifths right now. And I say that with all seriousness, because we know that the value of Black life has not appreciated over these years. And so at best we're still at 3/5, but who knows? We may be 2/5 in some areas.
And our large fight is with elected seats.
Yeah.
Everything that we marching for right now goes through the electoral process.
Okay. So on you, Eric.
Okay. If we could take one more question from one of our YouTube viewers. Trini Williams asks, where do we go from here? How may this be avoided? What is the alternative? How long will it take to change it to the alternative?
Before you answer that, Ben, if I can just slide in 1 second. Trini is a publisher and a member of NNPA, and he's in your hometown.
Wow.
Yeah, that's Trini. So yeah. Mm-hmm. That's all I wanted to say. So
that's awesome. We need to meet, man. I'm a local election commissioner here, and I'm getting a beating around here. So I would say get involved in the process. What I did as soon as I found out all of the stuff that I did it as a citizen. I have one guy to donate some money to me. I've never made a dime from any of this. And the guy literally, he said he wanted to donate to me. He said, why don't you have a donate page on your site? And I was like, I wasn't thinking about it like that. So I would say get involved. What I did was I joined my local election commission. I became an election commissioner, and I just get denied everything. so it's not because like I got the goods and the insight and the position of authority, and I still don't get nothing. So it's not without a fight. But we have to get involved, join these organizations, Smart Elections, Scrutineers, Protect Our Votes, Democracy Counts. There are many others, but these are the ones that I'm closely affiliated with. So I know their branding. I know what they're about. Jenny Cohn, follow her on Twitter. There are people writing about this stuff. LeBron's organization, he's got ways to go. He's getting started with it. So hopefully that organization will come around to seeing some of the underbelly of suppression. It's not necessarily suppression all the time. That could be a red herring. So there are other organizations, not to say that these four are the only ones. So I know LeBron started Protect. What's it called? I can't think of none of them. But he's got an organization. Not More Than a Vote. More Than a Vote. So join these organizations and get involved. Volunteer to work the polls. Volunteer to work the elections. Volunteer to be a citizen to audit and count it. Volunteer to be a poll watcher, where you are literally you're being charged with authority to go in there and get those poll tapes. And then we have to stick to it and actually do it, because the people in power ain't gonna give it up. They're not gonna give it up. You got to pry it from their hands. So and we need the younger people. And this is Perry is one of these people that yanked me out. Tim Canova yanked me out. We need to get the younger people involved. There needs to be a medium, right? It's not grassroots for them. It's cyber roots for them, because they're doing a lot of marching right now, but they ain't marching into the booth. Mm-hmm. In Shelby County, we made up, I think the age of 18 to 40 may have made up 10% of the election in the middle of the Black Lives Matter movement. So we gotta refocus some of this, retool it, make it more about community organizing. That's what the older generation had. Like King would say, don't ride the bus, and people walk to work. That's some power. Mm-hmm. So we need to kind of channel those roots again and participate in these elections and get behind candidates that we can back. They ain't got to be black candidates. Just get behind candidates that we can back, and get behind people that support policies that we can believe in, that actually affect our community. Because again, like y'all saw the map, this program here is mostly in the southern states.
Yep.
Yeah. No, and I would also add to that, since we've been talking math, that we are really dealing with what they call an imbalanced equation when it comes to voting, because we do all of the upfront loading on the left side of the equal sign. And so what Benny and we were talking about is that we also have to do some data gathering on the other side, because essentially, if we look at this, we are giving them all of the data and asking them to provide us with a result. And so, out of our convenience and out of our busy lives, we want to sit back and watch it on TV or go to a victory party. And we know it's suspect, but the crazy thing about it is we like this machine when it's our candidate.
Yep.
And so something has to be said for candidates who are willing to serve, knowing that they are serving in what could be a skewed election. And so if you have someone who's willing to accept that, then you have someone who's willing, who you know is not going to lead you with any sort of accountability or responsibility because they've already showed you their hand. And so this is good. I want us to understand, as Benny and John Breaker has said, voting for so long for us in the African American community has been about participation, but voting is truly about involvement. And the only time we've made changes is when we've gotten involved, not just participated.
Yeah.
And so that's the extra leg we've got to go into.
To your point, Perry, John Breaky always says this, that this is his mantra. He says, elections should be transparent, trackable, and publicly verified. We want to publicly verify every single election. It is our right. It is not transparent right now. The taxpayers, there's two P words that don't belong with each other, and that's the setup that we have right now. Public and proprietary. So we use public dollars to buy equipment that's proprietary to conduct elections with our money on our behalf, and when we want to verify it, we're told that it's proprietary, and we cannot see it. Now, there is no other. You can look at the mayor's phone bill. It's public dollars. Y'all remember what happened in Michigan when the mayor got in trouble? Yeah. His phone bill was public. People need to understand the electoral process and the civic process. This stuff is supposed to be public. This is really public information. It belongs of, by, and for the people. And until we start demanding those rights and kicking the tires on those public records laws, candidates got to be willing to sue. They got to be willing to pursue an authenticatable result. Wanda Halbert, no lawyer would take her case. She went into the court with a poll tape. That's it. She just went into the court with a poll tape. Pro se, with a poll tape. The judge said, somebody's got some explaining to do. And Bloomberg said, we have never seen anybody with any evidence. Can we write about this? Literally, because she went and she wanted to pursue an authenticatable result. We should be able to authenticate our elections.
Very good.
Okay.
All right. Do we have time for one more question, gentlemen?
I think the people like it. This was supposed to be an hour, but this is great information. Yeah. And I don't want anyone to go away not having a question answered.
Yeah, we can have a benediction, and I'll stay around and answer every question. We'll just keep it rolling. I don't think we've ever went anywhere and there were not a number of questions. So we like that people are getting involved. So if you got to dismiss and we'll stick around, I'll answer every question.
Thank you so much. This next question, or two parts, says, is this a problem with all computer programs used for voting? And how do I find out if my state uses such vulnerable systems?
Okay, so verifiedvoting.org lists all counties and the software and the vendors that are conducting those elections. This particular software is GEMS. However, your county, depending if they use Dominion, if they use ESNS, I don't think ESNS is confirmed, but I can tell you that this weighted election, right? This is a feature that makes it vulnerable, but this feature is inside of those election systems as well. They do count the votes as money, and again, it's not an indictment on the election vendors, although it is a signal to them that they need to clean house. They need to clean up the house, because Hollywood would not ask Ford Motor Company to put exploding gas tanks in all the cars so that when they buy one and they shoot the gas tank, that it can explode on the movies, right? So this particular niche software does not belong in mass production. It belongs and I think through Bev's research, she didn't find a single county that conducted a weighted election, and I'm sure nobody here has participated in a weighted election. But to the point of the asker, verifiedvoting.org is going to have it. We'll put my Twitter feed up. You guys have any follow-up questions? There's a ton of research on this. Jenny Cohn is really laid out an almanac of a lot of this stuff, and I make a few cameos in it. So that information is there too.
Okay.
And how can our audience get in contact with you, Benny? You mentioned your Twitter feed.
Yeah, so my Twitter is at Benny J Smith, BENNIE. Don't put me in the Y. BENNIE JSMITH. So I'm at Benny J Smith on Twitter, and you can get me there. Follow me.
Yeah.
I ain't got 1,000 followers. Jen and them dragged me out on Twitter, but I'm there now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Mm-hmm. Okay, if I could, Benny, it's not as dismal as it seemed. I heard you say, one of the weapons we can use in this war against our public voting rights is to turn out in numbers. I'm hoping that everybody can hear this, even though the opportunity to steal, to take, or whatever, we still have a way that we can weigh in to keep this in our favor, and that's to get out and vote, to march to the polls. Now, when we talked earlier, I told you it felt like parts of my body was being cut off when we were taking the percentage of voting and stealing the election. Well, we can stop this stealing of elections, and I want to really hammer this home, is for us to come out and vote, not just yelling about it, but actually be about it and vote. And that's one of the ways that we can kind of quell this situation, if you will.
You got it, man. Look,
Mm-hmm.
these laws, that the stuff that John Brakey is pursuing are laws that are already on the books.
Mm-hmm.
These vendors, they're not crazy. They made their software where it can be audited. They just got like the on position in a really wonky place.
Okay.
And that's questionable to me, but they have it where these auditing features exist. It's the county election officials that are not doing it. I think they should have allowed it to happen that way. But these are public documents. These are everything about this is public. So you turn up in numbers and you audit the process, right? Mm-hmm. You go and you make sure you vote. I am a hand-marked paper ballot enthusiast. If you are eligible to vote absentee, I know that the mail, we gotta fix the mail, mm-hmm. but it ain't gonna happen that way every time. And there are important elections that are local. Now, Tip O'Neill said all politics is local, and it didn't, even though he didn't mean it by local in the sense that I'm applying it in. All politics are local, so your local elections ain't gonna be doing all this mail stuff when it's mm-hmm. coming down to the stuff that's gonna be your boilerplate issues. So if you are eligible to vote on a paper trail, vote with a paper trail. That paper ballot is a more sure document. And like to your point, the write-in candidate isn't looking so dark anymore, because when you write it in, it's there. One thing I can't touch is the write-in. So don't be afraid to use these resources to combat this problem. Still participate even more, because if you got 90% turnout, you ain't gonna be able to find no votes. You can't
mm-hmm.
stop the landslide like that. And then be willing to sign an affidavit. Engage with your political people who are asking you for your vote, right? Be involved in this process. But more importantly, ask for the public documents.
Mhm.
You can ask to inspect ballots. You can ask with a thumb drive for them to give you the ballot images, and you can recount the election yourself. Let's have a lookup party and a counting party. Like, we really have to turn, like black people like waiting in line and chatting, because that was the way to say we ain't gonna give up. But now it's just kind of converting to, now we're gonna all do a public records request, and we're gonna go and authenticate this result ourselves, because that's our right to do so.
Okay.
Yeah. And seeing what we have here is years and years of apathy around voting. I mean, we talk a good vote game, but when it comes down to the actual game of voting, is always few participation. And so when we look at this, I think one of the things that we do have to take away from this is taking that mantra that all politics are local. What I've begun to say is we should all be curious to what the vote looks like in our community. You can't get any more local than that. If you don't know the voice that's coming out of your precinct,
Right.
and if the voice coming out of your precinct is truncated in any way, is manipulated in any way, then your community is in peril.
That's right.
And so why this happens, I believe a lot especially in our communities, is just the lack of oversight. And if we can just add just that one dimension to this, I think it will change. We're not looking for big changes, but these are small incremental changes. I've learned so much about our election code. And one thing that I have learned is that our election code is very antiquated. And so what you have here is another part of the game, is that the code says this, but the technology goes so far beyond that. And once you start talking about that gray area to try to get the law to cover this new age that we live in, is where you have this pushback. We had a lawsuit. I was involved with the John Brakey lawsuit here. And to hear the state argue vehemently against the ballot images. And you would think, why would the state argue against something that shows goodwill and transparency? But that's where they were. And this is the fight that we're fighting, because it becomes locked in some partisan mumbo jumbo, when in fact all we're requesting is an election that is fair and transparent.
Okay.
And that's a fight worth having.
Yep.
I'm having it like a son of a gun as election commissioner.
Yeah.
Okay. Well,
good. I guess that's it for us tonight.
that's a wrap.
Man, I have enjoyed this.
Yeah.
Benny, thank you. Bobby,
Yeah.
Dr. Chavis. Man, this was worth the effort.
I'm telling you. And Ben, I ain't gonna let you go with this, man. That HackerCon or hacker whatever.
DEF-CON.
DEF-CON. Oh, DEF-CON.
Yeah. Man, I was blown away, Benny. To think that brothers, well, I know we can do anything if given the opportunity, but to hear you say what you do, man, that just you know how many young folk out here that want to be in your shoes, that can be in your shoes, but they don't know. But I was seriously, I was blown away. Some James Bond espionage type stuff.
Oh man.
Yeah, and thanks,
So
Dr.
great.
Davis. And I just really appreciate it. I do know that Dr. William Barber has a movement himself called MORE, mobilizing, organizing, registering, and empowering votes. So that's another avenue, if you will, for us to really get engaged and stay engaged. So
yeah, I would say that we definitely have to, I've tried to be as I get spread a little thin sometimes.
Yeah.
But I've tried to avail myself as much as possible. I know that it's a dense subject, and you kind of need somebody who I'm the person that developed it. So obviously, it's better if people hear it from me. So we need more organizations to work with each other, right? If the Black press can write about this, then the Black audience can learn about it.
That's
If
done.
the Southern press can write about it, then the Southern states can learn about it. It's not a black or white issue. It's a nonpartisan issue.
Yeah.
It is a need for information. Most of this stuff is doesn't cost anything, right? It's just citizen involvement, some sweat equity. But isn't it worth it?
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone who came out tonight. This was a great hour and a half well spent. Ask that you join us tomorrow. Emily Levy will be our guest. Emily, oh gosh, has a trunkload of history on election integrity. and is still very much on the front lines. All that we've talked about this week, again, is about organization and coming together. So Emily's going to talk to us about that, because that has been the area that she's concentrated on. And that is what has made this so good, because I've met people from different backgrounds who are bringing so much to this. And I'm really just a student. I act like I know what I'm doing with the West Side Gazette, but it's all, I am just really just trying to be an echo in this. And I knew I couldn't do it justice. And I wanted to bring these guests on because they're really quality guests. They're just great people. And when you get people who are sacrificing for the will of their fellow man, then they deserve our attention and our ears. Yeah. And so I encourage you to join us tomorrow with Emily, and then Friday with Greg Pallas. And Greg has done a lot of work in this, and he's sort of brought the Hollywood exposure to this, which is good. We need it all. And so join us. I saw Greg was promoting it today on Twitter, and people were liking it and coming on. So in regards to last night's episode, we will have it on YouTube shortly. This episode, we will definitely put up. We'll share it, and tell your friends. Invite someone to come out, listen to this, because it is very worthwhile. Okay. Bobby, you want to close us out?
Yeah, well, it's always a good thing when like minds come together to discuss the way to move everybody, lifting as we climb. Benny, I am certainly elated to meet you, and won't be the last time. And we believe that we're here to serve, and I just want to thank everybody for being a part of it. Dr. Chavis, thank you for taking a moment to come and join us, and hopefully we'll have another surprise guest tomorrow. But Benny, hey man, you keep it up. You keep doing what you're saying. As Doc said, you're the spear at the head of that. You're the point. So you keep penetrating and doing what you do, bro. Thank you, Perry, for allowing the West Side Gazette to be a part of this, and we are elated just to be a servant. And I just thank everybody.
All right. Good night. All right, Benny. Thanks, man.
We out.